Hello everyone, so I'm here today to do a bit of a rundown of the Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist because the winner is announced on Wednesday, I think, and I'm currently filming this on Friday, the week before. So I've read all 6 books and I just wanted to talk about them and my feelings about them and what I think or want to win the prize. So the first one that is in the shortlist is Great Circle by Maggie Shefstead, and I have a full review of that, so I'll link it down below because I read it for the Booker last year. And this is about a woman that is a pilot in a time when women pilots were not common, and she went to the Second World War and had a very troubled life in terms of family and marriages and things like that. And it has two timelines, so that's the main timeline, I will say, and then there is the present day timeline of a girl that is an actress and she's going to play this woman in a movie about her. And I understand why a lot of people like this. I think it's the story is quite complex, but the language doesn't have anything special to it, and I found that the timeline of the pilot was way more compelling than the present timeline. So when I was reading the present timeline, I was skimming through it and I just didn't feel that that compelled to pick up the book. I was bored at times. It was kind of tedious at points, and I don't know if it was me or the book, but that's how I felt when I read it. So it's a difficult one to talk about for me because I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I can appreciate parts of the book. So I understand it's in all this list, but I personally just don't gel with it. The next one in the list is Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason, and again, I have similar feelings about this, I guess. So this one is about a woman that suffers with mental health issues for her whole life, and we see how that affects her life, basically. And it focuses especially on her second marriage with this doctor that everyone thinks is the perfect husband and how she treats him. And personally, I just found the character of Martha, which is the main character, really unrelatable. She's horrible. She's super privileged. Her family and her friends, they have ridiculous amounts of money to the point where after a breakup with her first husband, she didn't know what to do with her life. So this friend told her, just go to my apartment in Paris and live there for free. And she goes there and then suddenly starts working in what very clearly is Shakespeare & Co. Out of the blue, without any experience of book selling, as far as I understand. So it just felt very privileged and very unrealistic. And also I didn't like that there is a further discussion about this at the end a little bit, but for the majority of the book she just justifies everything that she does, every horrible thing that she does, with her mental illness, which, by the way, also it's not revealed what exactly the diagnosis is, and I didn't understand why the author decided that she was not going to reveal the diagnosis. So yeah, I just felt like this was just way too privileged. It didn't come from a place of exploration that I could relate to. There was also this moment when the main character Martha says something on the lines of, you know what I hate? That all our friends have less money than us. It's like, what? That's so And yeah, I don't know, it's just I just couldn't care less about anything that she wanted to say. The only parts I kind of understood and enjoyed were when they were actually discussing the mental health issues straight ahead. But that was not that much. There was also the discussions about her wanting to have babies but not wanting to have babies, and that discussion was also really out of, I don't know, it didn't feel very appropriate to me. I don't know. I just felt like that was not okay. So yeah, overall, I hated the main character, and I just couldn't relate to her at all, and it was just so unaware of so many things. And I understand that mental health issues are really, really hard, and she didn't have an easy life because she had to deal with this illness. But all of her other privileges that she has, which are huge and they are there, she was just not aware of them. And it's not like the character was not aware of them, but I think the whole book was not aware of them, which, yeah, not happy about that. The next book is The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki, and I read this before the prize, but this was fun. I enjoyed this one. I always enjoy Ruth Ozeki's writing. I think it's very, very engaging when I'm reading the book. It can come out as a bit gimmicky because it's about this boy, Benny, who lost his father when he was quite young. I think he was 13, if I remember correctly. And then from then on, he developed some mental health issues, and he's able to talk to objects, and the book is partly narrated by a book that about his life. So that could be a bit gimmicky for some people. I thought it was clever, and I enjoyed that back and forth with the book. I don't like the ending. I often don't like Ruth Ozeki's endings. I just feel like she doesn't know how to finish things, so she just finishes somehow, and that is common for most of her books. But overall, the reading experience I enjoyed a lot. I don't know if it's good enough to win, but yeah, it's a very enjoyable book, and I would recommend you try it out because yeah, her writing is quite engaging and nice. The next book in the list is The Bread the Devil Knit by Lisa Allen-Agostini, and this one is a Trinidadian book about a woman that is turning 40, and she has had a lot of abuse in her life. Trigger warnings for all of the abuse, so her mother and her husband, and she's reached a point with her husband where it is noticeable that she might be in an abusive relationship. So some of the people she knows try to help her because she is a successful businesswoman. She's managing a store, and she seems to have her life together, but yeah, it starts to be noticeable that she is in an abusive relationship. So it's about how people try to help her get out of it, and it is very emotionally taxing to see all the things that she has gone through in her life and how the cycle of abuse works, because it's not only her husband that is abusive. She had suffered abuse in her life before that, and her family relationships are really difficult in general. Also, it is written in a Trinidadian dialect. Is that how you call it? Let me know how you call that, but the turn of phrase, it's and the grammar is not the standard English. But yeah, I found this very not bland, but it landed flat to me. I mean, obviously there is a lot of violence and a lot of hardship in the book, and I don't want to minimize that, but the way it was written, it reminded me a little bit about of Shuggie Bain, and how, yeah, Shuggie's life was really hard, but the book was just fine. It didn't do anything major or anything. So yeah, that's my feelings on that. It's fine. That book is fine. Then the next book in the list is The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. I love Elif Shafak, and I love this book. It's about it has two timelines. The first one is in Cyprus from a man. I think the man was Greek and the woman was Turkish, or the other way around. I don't know, I have read it a while ago, but yeah, basically one of each, and it is not very accepted in the community to mix between the Turkish and the Greeks within Cyprus, so it was a scandal. And then the present timeline is when this couple had moved to London, and the mother had alcohol problems, so she died, and the daughter of these two people has to deal with the past and is trying to learn about the past. And there is also this perspective from a fig tree. So when they moved to London, they brought a piece of a fig tree and then they planted it in London, and that fig tree kind of has the memories of the whole journey, which again, similar to the book on Form and Emptiness, can come across as a little bit gimmicky, but it's also interesting to see the whole timeline. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoy her writing, and I learned a lot about Cyprus and things that I didn't know about, so I enjoyed that part too. I don't think it's her best book, but I think that, and I don't think it's for everybody, again, because of that gimmick of the fig tree. But I personally really enjoyed it, and it's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, in the list. And then the last one is The Sentence by Louise Edrich, and this book is about a bookstore in Minneapolis during 2020. So it has parts of the pandemic, it has parts of the George Floyd murder and the consequent protests, and it also has this Native American perspective. So this book is based on a bookstore that Louise Edrich actually owns in Minneapolis, and the owner of the bookstore in the book is also called Louise, but it's not from her perspective, it's from another worker's perspective, and she's also Native American, and she was in prison and had come out and then started working on the bookstore, and we see her perspective on all of these things that are happening. And also there is this other storyline in which there was a very annoying customer in the bookstore that was white but wanted to be Native American, and we got that explained by the fact that she was adopted by a Native American family, so she grew up in a Native American home, but she was white. So it has that problematic background, and she died, and she came back as a ghost to haunt this woman in the bookstore, basically. I thought that part of the ghost was really quirky, and I didn't understand why it was there. I didn't like it. I don't think it served the purpose that it was trying to serve, so I didn't like that. I also thought that the part of the Black Lives Matter protest was underdeveloped, and I understand that it's not from a black person perspective, so there was some mention about this woman joining the protest because she felt a kind of kinship between Native Americans and blacks, but that was about it. There was not a lot of discussion about that. The part I enjoyed the most was the fact that this woman, the initial terror of COVID, and how we were all like trying to not go anywhere and do anything because we were all terrified. That was very well described. Also, the partner of this woman gets COVID quite badly, and he's in the hospital for a while, and the description of how that affected her I really enjoyed. So overall, all the COVID parts were interesting to me, but the rest of the things were very gimmicky and very they didn't need to be there, kind of, or they wanted to be more developed. So I didn't think it was successful as a whole. As I said, I enjoyed the COVID parts, but that's kind of all that I enjoyed. There was also a lot of name dropping of books because of the bookstore part. And I felt that sometimes it was just name dropping for the sake of name dropping. And I was aware of all of the books. It's not like I learned about many new things that I wanted to read or anything. So that part was also not particularly interesting to me. Overall I don't think it was very successful. There was some parts I enjoyed and I appreciated, but as a whole it didn't do much for me. Those are the thoughts that I have on all of the books in the shortlist. If I look at the shortlist, for me it was not a completely successful one. There are things that I enjoyed, but not necessarily books that I absolutely loved. Maybe The Island of Missing Trees, but I can see how that one is a divisive one. The rest one I don't particularly, they are not my favorites or anything, so not a particularly successful list for me, although I understand why some of the books are in the list. In terms of what it's gonna win, I don't think that the book on Form and Emptiness is gonna win. I also don't think the Sentence is gonna win. I think both of them are way too gimmicky and too unsuccessful in some aspects to win. From the other four, I don't really know. I think that The Bread the Devil Net might not make it either, because it's, as I said, it doesn't have too much special particularly going for it, but it does feel like the underdog, so they might go for it because it's the underdog. And Sorrow and Bliss is way too divisive, I didn't like it. I know people that absolutely love it, but I think it's maybe too divisive again for winning the prize. So that leaves us with Great Circle and The Island of Missing Trees. And because I think that Elif Shafak has made better books, it might be the time for Great Circle to get a big prize. As I said, not my particular favorite, but I think it has enough merit that it might just win. Those are my thoughts on the list. Let me know if you have any other opinions about this and which one was your favorite. And until next video, bye!